Hello, how are you doing today? I'm Paul Pedito, and welcome to Script Gods Must Die. Uh, we are going to do dialogue today, and we're going to be using a PowerPoint that I've been using for quite a long time at Columbia College, the film department at Columbia College, and at Second City and Chicago Filmmakers. I think you're going to enjoy it. I do a short scene in front of that, and I will tell you why in a moment. But yeah, let's get going. And this is the first time I'm just improvising as I go here. So this is the first Zoom lecture I have ever done for myself. So it'll be hopefully fine. And again, I thank you for taking the time to watch it. I hope you come away with some knowledge and help on dialogue. Okay, let's get going. So, if you aren't an old geezer like myself and don't live in Chicago, you may not know who Rod Blagojevich is, or even who Rahm Emanuel is. But these are our elected officials, or were. Rod was the governor of Illinois, and Rahm was the mayor way back when, early or to mid 2000s, when Rahm was in front of being a mayor. He was the chief of staff for Obama, and Rob Blagojevich got kicked out, as many of our governors do, and thrown into jail, as many of our governors do here in Illinois, for trying to sell a Senate seat. And he did so over an open phone line. And that's what you're looking at here is the actual FBI wiretap of this phone call. I start out the dialogue lecture with this purposely, which I'll tell you about after we're through with it. Usually I have a student read with me. In fact, in all the times I've read this scene, I don't think I have ever read it alone, but I'm going to try today. Okay, here we go. And this is an FBI wiretap, and it was all true. None of this is invented. Yeah, this is Rom. Hey, Rom. Yeah, it's Rod. Uh-huh. What's going on, Governor? I'm busy. Well, it's about that Senate appointment. We already gave you a list of people we like. Yeah, I've been looking the list over. Interesting names, good people. How's the transition going? It's going fine, Governor. Are you calling to fucking tell me anything or what? Because no, I'm just wondering if you have all your picks already made. I heard something about Daschle for HHS. Hey, Rom, let's not act like I'm a stranger here. Did I call you a stranger? If I thought you were a stranger, do you think I'd be interrupting my important fucking business to take this fucking phone call? Hey, you don't have to get curt with me, Rom. This isn't me being curt, Gov. It's me being fucking busy. Now, what did you call about? I'm just feeling you out, seeing if Valerie still wants that Senate seat. Just wondering what kind of priority that is for the president-elect. Actually, it's not a priority. Valerie had second thoughts about the job. What? She doesn't want it anymore? She had second thoughts. If you want more details, call her. She won't take my call. Big fucking surprise. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, I don't know. What's it supposed to mean, Governor? A, you're a fucking crook. B, you're a fucking asshole. C, all of the above. Hey, I'm clean. You know that. You think that Fitzgerald would be twiddling his fucking thumbs if he had shit to go on? I gotta go, Gov. You appoint who you want. You want. We really don't give a shit. Well, what if I appoint Valerie? What if she takes it? Well, what do you want me to say? We'd appreciate it. I'm not gonna kiss your fucking ring over it. Appreciate it. Come on. This is a Senate seat we're talking about. It's worth a fuck of a lot more than appreciation. You asked us for a list, we gave you a fucking list. You want to make your own list and make your own fucking list. But if you're asking for anything else from me, Barack, or Valerie, then you can fucking stop talking right now, Rod. Wait a second, Ron. Wait just a fucking minute. Who are you to talk to me like that? I fucking made you. You made me? You made me? Tell me you were fucking joking. No, you listen to me, shit face. You see this list I got, the names motherfucking Obama wants for the Senate? I just ripped it in two. How do you like that? Oops, Harris just dropped it in the shredder. Harris, yes, sir. Did you just drop that in the shredder? Yes, I did. You have me on fucking speakerphone? It's in the shredder, Rom. The list is by. Hold on a sec. You got me on fucking speakerphone? Who the fuck do you think I am? Who are you? Who are you? You're shit. You hear me? Don't come back to Chicago, Rom. It's not your town anymore. Pick up the phone, Rod. I'll put someone in the Senate who will fucking fuck you. I might even put myself in there. How'd you like that, Rom? How'd you gonna explain that to fucking Barack every time he's got to call me up for my fucking vote? He'd have to take my calls then, wouldn't he? I said pick up the fucking phone. I got your attention now, didn't I? Shut the fuck up and listen to me for 1 second, Rod. And I want you to listen carefully because this is the last time I will ever talk to you. You are fucking dead to me. You've been fucking dead to Barack since '06. Now you're dead to me. You know what that means? That means you're dead to my people in Chicago from Daly on down. And all these friends you think you have aren't going to touch you with a 6-foot pole. Oh, so now you're the fucking godfather? Fuck you. No, fuck you, and fuck you. Fuck you. Listen, asshole, the shit's gonna hit the fan maybe tomorrow or next month. And when Fitzgerald finally brings down the hammer, it's gonna be my name that's going through your head. You won't know the hows or the fucking whys, but it's gonna have my fucking fingerprints all over it. So have a great life, fatso. Hey, fuck. So there you go. Um, and there you are. There are Chicago's elected officials in action. Why do I open up the dialogue lecture with this scene? Okay, let's get into it. Here you go. To the slideshow. And we'll play from the top. We'll see how this goes. Okay. So he went to jail because of this phone call and many other stupid things that he did. And I open up the dialogue lecture with that scene because if you're writing comedy, if you're writing drama, it doesn't matter. Every scene probably has characters, and those characters have wants and needs. And the fascinating thing about good dialogue is watching it play out, whereby one character wants something and another character wants something completely different. And it kind of plays out like a chess match. So it's very interesting to see. And in this case, we could see the power dynamic play out. And Rom picked up that phone because it was the governor of Illinois, and he reluctantly did so. Rom didn't have all that much to want or need in this scene. He probably just wanted to get through the phone call. But then it became apparent midway through that this guy, this governor, was about to ask for bribe money. And then Rom had to turn on the juices to ward him off and not say anything stupid on a phone call that might be tapped, which was tapped. The governor called for money. He had a much more defined want or a need. And in your scenes, you should know, why am I in the scene? What has to happen here? Let me get it done fast. And whoever wants and needs, let's see how that plays out. Now, beat analysis is, let's go to beat analysis for a second. We'll come back here. Um, a beat is the smallest actable moment. And it's the smallest structural moment because there's usually several beats within a scene, and then there's several scenes within a sequence, several sequences within an act, several acts within the movie. So it's smaller and smaller units, and a beat is who's controlling the movie right now, who's controlling the action. And you could see early on that Rod was pressing the issue. He was in control of the call until Ram realized what was going on, and then Ram started fighting back. And I would say that Ram won this battle because Ram didn't end up in jail and Rod did. So, but you could see it play out. He was just trying to figure out, why is this guy calling me? And the minute he knew that, he started fighting back. Meanwhile, the governor was trying to move the conversation artfully toward, I want you to pay me for your choice for the Senate seat, because that's the way it's done in Chicago. So let's go back here. You could hear Mamet-esque dialogue. You could know why David Mamet, what's going on, because this had a lot of F bombs. And by the way, I didn't give a trigger warning, so I'm sorry about that if you didn't know all those F bombs were coming. Anyhow, this was verbal warfare, and but it was really humorous to see the politicians like bring down the veil and backroom politician talk. So subtext was missing here, which is trying to say something without saying it. There was conflict in here, and as Orson Welles said, everyone has their reasons. So that's what you kind of want to track in terms of every scene. You want to figure out in your outlining, why is this scene inevitable? Why is it necessary? Does it move the story forward? Does it move the character development forward? Uh, what has to get done here? And then you try to do that as fast as possible. Keep the pace moving, get it done, and move on. I think when I first started at Second City, as a matter of fact, I always wanted to do this. I walked in to my first class and said, you can't teach someone to be funny. And I still believe that. At Second City, of course, it's rather cultish, and you're drinking the Kool-Aid, you're taking the classes, and of course, you're looking at the photos around that building of all the famous people who have come out of there. And I would say way more famous people have come out of Second City than out of Columbia College or Northwestern. It's incredible to know how many people came out of there. So it's a little hard to say, well, if I'm going to take these classes and read these books and learn these improvisational exercises, that I'm not going to get better. I'm not going to get funny. You might get funnier, but I don't know if you're going to be able to make your living at it, because I've seen a lot of unfunny people at Second City, and that was taking all the classes that just didn't transfer. You know it yourself. Sometimes people are funny, sometimes they just ain't funny. And I do believe that. Like, what does that have to do with dialogue? Well, because I'm going to give you some tips today that hopefully will help you with your dialogue. But I don't know, to be honest, if I can make your dialogue instantly better. But I'm going to give you a few points that should be able to help you at the very least. So let's get on that. Here are some tips. And the first one is, you have to hear it. You have to listen to how people talk. Listen, because it's imperfect. It is not like some novel with perfect noun verb sentences. And it's much more, it's jagged, it's imperfect, it's imperfection. It's stops and starts. It's interrupting. It's too many curse words. It's people getting lost in thought. It's pretty complex. Writing good dialogue is pretty complex. There's different rhythms and pacing and lack of education or over education, and hopefully subtext. So you try to incorporate all these things. But the good news is Charlie Kaufman has two ears and he's hearing it. And you can do the same thing and you can listen to how human dialogue sounds. We do at Columbia a overheard dialogue exercise where you go out into the world and then you write down a piece of dialogue you heard while you were on the subway or on the line at Target or wherever. And it's instructive to write that down because these words are coming out of an actor's mouth. It's not the internal narration of a book. So it has to sound like believable dialogue in terms of I believe that coming out of a human mouth. A lot of people write exposition where they overwrite stuff thinking they need to spell it all out. But what you're not taking into account is that actors fill in the gaps with their body language. So you have to think about that because we're watching this. It's a visual medium. It's not theater, right? Where it's all about the dialogue. This is about the image. And then the dialogue accompanies the image. But the actors are up there filling in the gaps between words. So don't overwrite and don't do exposition where you're over describing stuff. Get specific, do your research, and most of all, hear it. Like listen to how people actually speak. You want to be a sponge and take all this in, and uh, that is the best way. So if I were you, I'd carry some sort of notebook or something and write stuff down because you can always tell when stuff came from real life because you could never make it up. It's stranger than fiction. And that's some of the best stuff that comes out of real life. So I would mine that if I could. And I saw Judith Molina once, who is the one of the co-founders of the Living Theater. And I asked her how she got her ideas. And she said, first I figure out what it is I'm trying to say, and then I go about saying it. And I thought that was kind of genius. Because a lot of people, they pick up scripts and they don't really know why they're in there writing it. They don't have the theme. They don't know like this is about this thing. This is what I wanted to say here. Because writing good dialogue, you've got to know that. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the place. So figure out what you need to say in the scene, say it, and get out as fast as possible. And do plenty of research. Okay, so 1001 Afternoons was a play that I wrote, which was based on Ben Hecht's 1001 Afternoon columns in the Chicago Daily News in 1921. And he wrote one of these columns for about, I don't know, a year and a half. He wrote like 500 of these columns. And someone approached me to do an evening of theater, right? So I could pull the book, and the book had about 80 saved columns, but they didn't have anywhere near as much as I wanted. So I ended up at the Harold Washington Library microfilm room because, yes, there are some things you can't Google. And I ended up down there doing research, and I pulled all the columns that he had written, and it was in microfilm, right? You put it up on the machine, you spool it, and it was like it was just a gold mine of fabulous writing. And then I would funnel some of that stuff into the script, and that's public domain stuff. I always tell people how I got the dialogue for that script. And the reason everyone responded to that script is because the dialogue was pitch perfect for 1921. And this is stuff that isn't even in the lexicon anymore. Like, I have no idea how you would write this from scratch uh, because nobody talks like this anymore. So good luck to you inventing this sort of stuff from scratch. Here, for instance, he sat down with a flapper. They had lunch. He went back to the office and wrote up what they said. If it's in the air and you write it down, you just wrote it. He was genius. He had a great memory for these things, and he could hear what she said an hour or two after she said it. And he typed it down, and that became his thing. And I put this in the play. Here, I'll just read. Here it says, Susie says, so you didn't call me. Well, I thought you and I was cookies. Well, that's the way it is with you Jakes. There's enough to go around. Boy, say, boy, you can bet. Say, boy, I met the classiest Jake the other evening in front of the hopper. Did he have class? Boy, there are some of these fancy Jakes who look like they're the class, but are they? Ask me, nix. And don't I give them the berries quick? I don't let any Jake get moldy on me. Soon as I see they're heading for a dumb time, I say raspberry and off your little sugar toddles. Nah, there's some Jakes that tip over the all can right from the start. Could never forget them. Nobody could forget you, handsome. Never no more, never. How's about that hooch, huh? Stuff's getting rottener and rottener, don't you think? Come on, swallow. Here's how. Oh, ain't we got fun? Good luck writing that from scratch. You almost had to have heard it and then transcribed it down, and then it becomes fiction. Because it goes from somebody's voice to a newspaper column, into a book, into a play. But it's still wonderful dialogue because it's pitch perfect. So you have to do some research if you want to attain that pitch perfectness. Of course, if you were writing for the Dick Wolf universe, any Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, any of those, you're going to have experts, police and firemen, who are on set to guide the writers toward what is believable or not. The writers would write a script, and then they would get feedback on, no, we would never do it that way. Here's how we would do it, and then that's what would go into the script and what you would see on TV. But most of us do not have the ability to pay for experts, so we have Google, which is good. Not everything is on Google, but an awful lot is. So if I needed to talk about 9mm guns and I knew nothing about it, that's not a problem, because I could punch in 9mm guns, get 500,000 websites, look at 20 of them, and pull facts into my script. Pulling words, factual words, is not a violation of copyright. It's not plagiarism. You can't protect that word. You don't own that word. I can use that word just like you use that word. And I took, you pull that stuff, assemble it into your script, and it makes you look pretty knowledgeable on 9mm guns or whatever the subject is. So do your research. That will help your dialogue. Remember the famous Picasso saying, bad artists imitate, great artists steal, which of course was stolen from Picasso by Banksy. And it's true. Tarantino is known for this, of course, the stealing thing, where he would pull a scene from whatever 1960s Yakuza movie and put it in put them in a stagecoach in the Old West, and you'd have a scene play out the way it did in that old movie, but he would rewrite all the dialogue. So he was influenced by that, but didn't directly steal. So you could do that as well, and you should. Believe me, George Lucas was influenced by dozens and dozens of things for Star Wars. This stuff doesn't just come out of the blue. So be a good thief, not a plagiarist, but a good thief. Yes, and your dialogue will improve. For instance, I would recommend killing the perfectionist inside yourself. This scene from Amadeus, where she walks into his office, Salieri's office, with Mozart's original works, because there were no copies, and Salieri's looking at this, and there was like no corrections on the page, and it was straight from God's mouth to Mozart's hand, his writing hand, and Salieri was amazed. And I will have to say, like, if you want to write good dialogue, you're going to have to rewrite, because it's very, very rare that you nail it the first time. It's going to take rewrite work over and over again to nail it down. And even then, after you nail it down and everyone says it's nailed down, it could still change. Like, the script is in flux straight through editing, if you think about it. If we're on set and we have the pages we're shooting today, first off, those could be improvised. Or if we're under the gun time-wise, they could be cut. But even if you said everything verbatim, perfectly, according to the script, it could still change when you get into the editing room, whereby I have to cut some stuff because the pace is too slow. So we shot this whole scene, but we're only showing a third of it. So basically, you have to get used to the fact that the script is never actually, quote unquote, done. And you're going to be always rewriting. It's the job. That's fine. Just pay me. You know? Because WGA writers get paid for rewrites too. Anyhow, let's keep moving. Never trust your first instinct. Check out Pixar's 22 Rules of Story. It's a great read. And one of them is discount the first thing that comes to mind, and the second, third, fourth, and fifth, get the obvious out of the way and surprise yourself. So basically, never trust the first instinct. Don't settle for the first choice. Once you figure out some dialogue or something that will work, okay, that's fine, but always be open to possibly changing it. And maybe the second or third choice will be better. This goes back also to Robert McKee in his book Story, where he says the first thing off the top of a screenwriter's head is cliche. So beware of choosing dialogue the first choice, the first time around. Always be open to rewriting and to hearing from your inner circle on how you can make the script better. Some dialogue tips. The first one is plausibility. I like to become the character in terms of what would I do, what wouldn't I do. I think you will lose the audience if the character is up there on screen doing stuff that would never happen in the world. Granted, drama has a much tighter, narrower band on plausibility. Crazy stuff happens in comedies. You have a wider scope with that. But for plausibility, especially if it's drama, you want you want it to be believable in terms of what would happen in the real world. As develop a cut instinct is this is important. The first time you go through, you're going to write it. You're going to probably outline it, and then you're going to write it very rough, straight through. You should almost automatic write it. You should get through it to the end. And then you can double back and start making changes. Do not get into a situation where it's like, that gag sucks. I'm not moving until I get this right. And then you're going to sit there being miserable with writer's block for hours. You have to skip that. Go to the next scene if necessary. Keep moving, push to the end, and then you go back. Usually you overwrite the first draft. So if you wrote 10 lines, the first draft in that scene, try to cut it to 5. And if you wrote 5 lines, try to cut it to 2. And if you wrote 2, try to do the scene without dialogue. Because I'm always looking for the visual solution. If I can do a scene without dialogue, so much the better. But I may need dialogue to fill in for what isn't being understood. In that case, put the dialogue in. But always be looking to develop your cut instinct and to trim it down. This shows how old this PowerPoint is with the Davids and the great shows they produced for HBO back in the day. And I'm sure there are plenty of Gen Z film students who have no idea what Deadwood is, if you can imagine that. I don't ask questions like that anymore. Who's a fan of The Sopranos? You want to bet that, I don't know, half the class won't even know what that is? So I try not to ask questions like that, but you could see the craft in these shows, the craft of writing. It's a lot of work. See? Yep, the craft. You could just expect to work it and work it and work it. That you have to write 1,000,000 words for your first one to be good. That's an old cliche thing, but you get the point. You got to work at it. Or the Dorothy Parker, I hate writing, but I love having written type vibe. Talk about an old vibe. Sunset Boulevard. We didn't need dialogue. We had faces. Yeah, that whole era of silent film proves that it could be done. You don't have to have dialogue every scene. Silence is fine. Actors can play silence. Here's a nice saying, film in its essence is silent. Music and dialogue are there to fill in what is lacking in the image, but you should be able to tell the story with moving pictures alone. So yeah, I talked about dialogue being imperfect, and it's complex. Look at all this stuff. Stops and starts, interruption, half sentences, forgotten thoughts, silences, different rhythms, different tones, education, lack of education, stuttering, cursing, street lingo, repetition. Pretty dense. It's a lot to think about. And you almost have to hear it and do it automatically. And that, I'm sorry to say, will take work until you get more automatic with your writing and until you start writing stuff with your own writer's voice, which will come eventually once you do the work. Just what we're saying here. Subtext, this is a movie that no one really knows anymore. It's an old Brad Pitt movie, California. And I have a scene in here where I talk about subtext, saying it without saying it. In this scene, he plays a guy just out of jail. He and his girlfriend hook up with these folks who just want to take on some passengers cross country to save on gas money and such. So they pick up these two, the wrong two. And it's not long before Brad Pitt has designs on this woman. You could see here in this early scene, she doesn't see that the door didn't really close. And he's looking at her change. She's in her underwear. And you could see he has got some nasty designs, and we know it's not going to turn out well here. But she didn't see any of this. We see it. So this is the Hitchcock thing about who has the information. We see it. We know it's not going to end well. Then she comes out and he says, you need a hand with those bags. And she says, no, I can manage. Obviously, the scene is not about, is he going to help her with her bags? The scene is setting up the whole conflict that's going to happen between these two in a little matter of time. It's a setup scene. But there's the dialogue and then the intention behind the dialogue, right? It's like railroad tracks. This is what's being said. And then this is what the track behind it is what is actually happening, what the scene is actually about, right? Actor might say, what am I playing? Which means what is the essence of the scene? Not how loud should I speak the line about bringing your bag out? That's not what it is. Not even close. What's being said and what isn't being said, the said and the unsaid. Try to get that into your writing. This is exposition, right? What's the matter with you? You've been grumpy all week. Well, I'm glad you asked. And then he goes on this rant, which isn't that long, but still, what's wrong with you? I've been frustrated all week. Why? I'm glad you asked. It's like 20 lines later. Wow, I didn't know you felt that way. That's right. And as a matter of fact, here's how I feel. Here's some more about how I feel right now. Like on and on. You always want to try to avoid exposition, which is characters saying, here's how I feel right now. Definitely avoid that. Do not kill subtext. And lastly, Philip Seymour Hoffman, the great actor, talking about characterization, said they were in the edit room for Capote, and director Bennett Miller was like, wow, this guy is really nasty. There is nothing positive about this character. Maybe we should throw in some scenes where you lighten the character up, right? And he said, no, the way toward empathy is to actually be as hard as possible on the character. Deep down, people understand how flawed they are. The more benign you make someone, the less truthful. And this is pretty brilliant because usually actors want the audience to love their characters. Right here, he's saying, no, I'm going to have them despise this character. And they will respect that even more. So the complexity of that character. I'm going to do another PowerPoint, the one I have on character, and I'll put it up on the website. But you could see and go to my website. Yeah, even Hannibal Lecter, he's an intelligent guy. He could talk with you for hours about wine. He's got some positive traits. He's a good artist. He'll also kill you, but we don't want black hats and white hats. We want gray, complex characters, and we'll talk about characters another time. Those two lectures usually go together, but I'm going to say that's about it for dialogue, what I have for you today. I hope that was instructive, and shoot me a line at Script Gods if you ever need me for anything. I do some consultations, and I'll be happy to help in any way I can. And once again, thanks. I really appreciate your taking the time to take this lecture, this PowerPoint, my very first on Zoom. Okay, you take care. Bye.